We are live. It should start streaming in a couple of minutes. I'm going to give it like a minute and then start asking questions. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Vanch, why don't you do the honors?
Are we good? Good to go?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Welcome to The Beat. We are excited to have with us the amazing Alam Khan. Alam Khan is a two-time Grammy-nominated artist and son of the legendary late Sarod maestro Ali Akbar Khan. Alam is a sarodist, composer, and producer based in the San Francisco Bay Area. Alam has performed alongside world-renowned musicians such as Swapan Chaudhuri, Zakir Hussain, Anindo Chatterjee, Anoushka Shankar, Karsh Kale, and many more. He is a founding member of the genre bending group Grand Tapestry and the primary composer of The Resonance Between. Alam, welcome here, and we're so happy to have you join us.
Hi, everybody. Hey, Oded and Vanch, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here talking about our favorite subject, music.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining. And how are you doing today?
I'm okay. I'm okay. It's a new year. Hopefully, new good things to come. But, we don't know what the way the world is these days, but we hope for the best. And,
That's
Yeah.
for sure.
that's all we do and hope to make good music. That's the one thing that we have is this practice of music that can support and be our companion through all of it, the thick and the thin, the good and the bad, and
Yeah.
it's such a special thing to have be such a huge part of our lives.
I couldn't agree more. At times like this, you can maybe feel it even more intensely. Maybe we can begin the conversation around this thing that you just mentioned. If we think back chronologically of you growing up in a musical family, is there any point in time where you felt that music becomes this thing that sort of ally in life? Was it always like that? Was it not at all like that for
Mm.
you as a child?
I don't think I can easily separate music from anything in my life. It's been a constant even before I was born in the womb. Just two days before I was born, I believe my father and Pandit Ravi Shankar and Ustad Alaraka all had a concert together in San Francisco, and my mother was in the front row, and I was just kicking away in the stomach, just listening to the music. Perhaps wanting to play the music, and
Yeah.
then my whole life it's just
Mm.
been musical, from drumming on things to humming all and singing all the time, and then the different instruments I played, the musicians that were always around at
Yeah.
our music school and at our house. It's just always been a constant to me. I don't think I can ever really separate the two. So yeah, it's but like you said, Oded, like it's when things happen in life and as you get older and mature and more experienced, music does take on possibly a different role, or you see different aspects of what it might mean to you in your life, the roles that
Right,
it plays.
right. That's amazing to hear. And I'm always very impressed hearing accounts like this of growing up in an environment like this, because I myself didn't grow up in a musical family, and I definitely have these clear memories of music suddenly becoming something that my life is all about. And I guess when I ask you this question, it's almost as if asking like, when did air become something that started breathing? If even in the womb, it was part of your environment. So that's really amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we all have music around us, unless your parents really despise the music. It's always going to make its way in there somehow. And You don't have to be part of a musical family. I mean, as you just said, I mean, such wonderful music that you make. It's maybe it's even more special because you weren't around it as early
Mm.
on. Maybe it's more
Mm.
enriching. Maybe for me, the
Mm.
music is fading. Just
Find
sometimes,
that hard to believe.
sometimes, when was younger, I used to always have headphones on, and I'd always be listening to music, whether it was on the way to the airport, or just driving around town, or walking around town, whatever
Mm.
it was. Being on tour with my father, playing classical shows, in between, I'd always have my headphones on, and it was, probably more so than not. It was not Indian music; it was other kinds of music.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, but I just listened to so much. But as I and it used to, the worlds that I would go into, that the music created, because it was fresh, it was new, it was so potent, and it was so constant. And sometimes people would say, "Why are you always listening to music? You should, like, have quiet and listen to your own body's
Mhm.
vibration or whatever." And I'd be like, "Why? I love the music." And nowadays, that feeling that I would get from the music, I won't say that it's not there, but it's different because I've experienced so much of it, that those moments of just, ah, that those transporting kind of moments are
Mm.
maybe fewer and further
Mhm.
between,
Mhm.
Mm.
which I don't know that that's a bad thing. It's kind of like the role of the music changes. What I'm listening to it for is different now, also.
Mhm.
As a
Yeah.
young mind, so many possibilities in the world and life. The music was the soundtrack to all that. But as you
Right.
get older, and with experience, some can call it being jaded, some can call it just time and experience. Certain activities and things change, and your relation to them change as well. So for me now, music is more medicinal,
Mhm.
Mhm.
rather than just the intrigue and the, maybe constant wonder of things, because I've
Mm.
already heard so much good music. It's all in there as part of me, but now it's more focused, perhaps, in certain
Mhm.
aspects, is what I'm trying to say. I still love music.
No,
That's so
that's
fascinating. Yeah,
yeah.
that's really
Yeah.
fascinating to hear. And when you call it medicinal, are you now more selective about what you listen to and when you listen to it? Because it's really looks like it sounds like it's serving a very specific purpose in your life right now compared to what it was when you were younger. And so what's
Yes, yes, I would say it very is. It is much more selective, and I look at things and I say, I like this music. It put me in this mind state, or in this emotional uh, space, or whatever it is. But does it serve me as a
Mhm.
whole? Do I feel better after the experience of listening to it?
Mhm.
And oftentimes the answer is probably not.
Mhm.
I liked it for what it did, what it showed me, the things that could happen. But, nowadays I kind of listen to the things that make me feel whole.
Mhm.
I don't need to listen to really sad music or really aggressive music unless I'm in a certain kind of mood, or even angry music. I listen to that when I'm in a certain type of mood, but I can't say that at this age it does it for me as much. I'm looking for the things that make me feel whole. It's just like when you're young,
Mhm.
you like to eat maybe some junk food, and when you get
Mhm.
older, you're like, wow, I don't feel good. I should probably eat something more healthy that makes me feel
Mhm.
better. You just, your perspectives, your the things that are important change as you get older,
That's so
Mhm.
and that's
interesting.
kind of the role of music, also does that for me. I still love those bands and songs that put me in those places. I mean, it's the soundtrack of my life. But if I look at it, like, what do I actually feel afterward? What am I feeling emotionally? Where is my head at? It's not
Right.
necessarily, and that's the thing I like about Indian music. I've always kind of known, but and I've said this before, but even more now, it it takes you it resolves itself. The music will take you into those emotional spaces or moods, rasas, whatever you want to call it, but then it resolves itself in a kind of tranquility. It's a neutral, coming back to the sa, our
Mhm.
tonic note, coming
Mhm.
back to sa. It shows you the sadness, it shows you the happiness, the wonder, the intrigue, the detachment, the even anger, the whatever it is, but then it always resolves itself. It's almost like a more mature way of going through these
Mhm.
emotional landscapes of the music. And so I never get overly this or overly that when listening to
Mhm.
Indian classical music.
Right.
It's almost a refined way of experiencing it.
Mhm. Mhm.
I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we are talking about music being medicinal and such an intentional choice, when you listen to it, and you're mentioning Indian classical music specifically about that, I wonder again if we go back in time for a moment to the beginning of the journey, um, it being so all-consuming, it being all around you. Um, are there any moments in your memory where music became something that isn't just the natural environment? What I mean to ask is, was there any moment in time when your father demanded of you to practice a certain way, or the music itself demanded of you to be a certain way, and it wasn't just that natural setting into which you're born?
I think I think that learning music has different phases. You have the technical side of things where you have to learn how to play the instrument, and that changes through life. It becomes not necessarily, in the beginning, it's breaking through to the next level of technique and being able to control the instrument. As my father would say to me, you have to control the instrument, don't let it control you.
Mhm.
But then it gets to the point of like maintenance more
Mhm.
once
Mhm.
you've really done, I mean, this is many years later, but it's like, and even till the end, you kind of work on the things, and some of the things don't. I guess I can relate it to certain aspects of playing even now. I'm like, that's not really my forte to do that kind of thing. I've tried,
Mhm.
I've genuinely put in the time and worked hard at it. It just doesn't feel um natural to me. It doesn't feel like my
Mhm.
natural uh
Mhm.
relationship to the music. So I'm going to stop spending my time trying to do that. I'm
Mhm.
going
Mhm.
to put my time and energy into other aspects of the music and other things. And um even on the subject of tihais and things like that we were talking about, thinking of things like that in advance, or
Mhm.
calculating things, to me has always been not come naturally. I always had a resistance,
Mhm.
whereas letting it spontaneously occur, and that, to me, it was also my father's style. He would teach
Mhm.
us hundreds, thousands of compositions and so many ragas over the years since I was a kid, and you're supposed to learn all these and memorize these full compositions, not just, when people say bandish, where it's like a gut or astayantra and that's it. No, but like
Mhm.
20 pages, like
Right.
50 lines. You memorize the whole thing.
Mm.
It's hard to retain that forever, but at least the key points of the raga, the different guts, the different things like that, how the raga goes. That's the
Right.
important
Mhm.
part.
Mhm.
But it was always, and you would learn calculated tihais, chakradars, things like that in these compositions. But then when my father actually played, he almost always, it seemed like, was coming from an internal um, place and a spontaneous one in his creation.
Mhm.
Rhythmically, melodically, all those things. It becomes second nature, and then you just create from that. People that develop more intricate tihais, chakradars, things like that, oftentimes they're sitting down and they're writing these things, or they're composing them, and then also those formulas could
Mhm.
also become second nature. So they can
Right.
compose new
Yeah.
ones all the time with those formulas. But for me, my formulas were always more focused in the melodic side of things,
Mm-hmm.
and the tihais and different rhythmic things that would happen. Those would be in the moment, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they worked and sometimes they did not. They oftentimes they don't, but then you spin something else out of it not working. But sometimes the tihais would come, and and it would work out wonderfully, and I would say I probably couldn't even compose that.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, it's just a different way of looking
Yeah.
at things. It's different parts of the brain and the
Yeah.
approach of the individual. So for me, I've always been one, back to your original question, that feels things, is in the moment, and just kind of lets it happen
Mm.
rather than plans all these things beforehand.
The challenges that we are that we have to address when we are more formulaic, when we study those more, as you said, detailed rhythmic aspects of the music and want to perform them. Those are challenges that we talk about a lot in the podcast. Like, what do you do when you encounter this complicated rhythm and you can't perform it right now? How do you kind of enter into the space of that? And I wonder, from the point of view of what you're talking about, which is a more intuitive space where things are not formulaic, what are the challenges that you have found there? Are there any challenges? Are there completely different challenges to those?
Well, my father would talk about mood a lot,
Mm,
and if the concert didn't go well, then I'm not in the right mood.
mm,
That's the kind
Mm.
of thing he would say. And then often, like situations before the concert, all these people were bothering me, talking to me, coming to me with problems. This was going on. Someone didn't make my tea the right way. We didn't show up
Mm.
to the venue enough. I mean, all those kinds of things. Like
yeah.
if I didn't
Mm.
make the tea correct, if we weren't on time, he'd say, "How can you be in time and play music if you can't be on time to show up for
Mm.
us leaving on time, or the tea being made the right way?" He
Wow.
was definitely a person of moods, and he related everything in life to music. And or he would say things like, mm, Saraswati, the goddess of music, she wasn't here today.
Mm.
She didn't come to me. Um,
Mm,
the music couldn't
Yeah.
happen in this place. So, you know, the concerts are always still, in my mind, and to many people's, wonderful, but he wasn't so happy with them.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Hard to get inside the mind of the maestro.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think that yeah, I think that it's inspiration, it's
Yeah.
mood for a lot of these things. It's being comfortable with the sound, the hall, the way everything's going on when you're playing a concert, let's say. And also just being a performer versus not really being so much of a stage presence, like, at least for me, like I always feel uncomfortable when I'm performing, I mean, I
Mm,
do it, and people think that it seems all great, but inside, it's time for me to show what I have to myself every time.
mm,
And it becomes this
Mm.
battle,
Mm.
and usually I feel I lose the battle, but then sometimes I'll watch the battle or listen to the battle afterward. And the concerts that I think that I won, they sound awful. I died
mm.
in the first act. And the ones that I thought that I died immediately on the field, they actually were not bad. They were not anywhere near as bad. There's a real dissonance in perception. One
Wow.
of the main things I do nowadays is when I make something that I feel is awful and the concert should just end right there, I should just hang my head in shame and walk off the stage, breathe, let it go, because it probably was nothing and it might have actually sounded good. So
Yeah.
maybe I'm not the best person to judge
Judge
this.
it.
And when I do something good, I'm kind of like, "Hmm, yeah, maybe." Just
Mm,
keep playing, just keep going,
Mm.
yeah.
just let it flow, let it unfold, get out of your own way, get out of your
Mm.
head.
Mm,
Those are the things that are hard for when you are spontaneously in the moment
yeah.
improvising all these things. It's getting out of the noise of your own head and letting the music be, and look at it later on if you want, but if you're not relying on formulas, then this is my kind of experience, and a lot of it is just second nature. So you're
Mm.
just kind of going with it. And there can be a combination. When we say formulas, there's conscious use of formulas and there's subconscious use of formulas,
Mm-hmm.
because we all know as musicians we practice patterns and things so many times that when we're playing in the moment, a lot of them are we've done so many times before, but we didn't set out to do this thing right beforehand. It's happening right now, so in that moment we don't know what's going to come afterward. We don't know what's going to happen now or after. And in that sense, there is subconscious formulaic playing all the time, or pattern playing all the time,
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really love everything that you just
Yeah.
shared. I want to hear so much more about the battle and what you've learned about it. I think any touring musician, especially, but any musician, any performer, can relate so much to these words that you shared. And sometimes, as a person who's not religious, I also wish there was either Swaraswati or another god or goddess or an external agent that you could just rely on. Because indeed, when someone, first of all, when someone doesn't make the tea right, I have to agree that that is very distressing as a person who's a fan of tea. I mean, like, why would you do that? Uh, but everything else, someone coming to ask you about this and that, and you're just is am I really expected to open people's hearts in 5 minutes when
Mm,
this is happening now? And there's maybe a little bit of a switch there. So
mm,
I love what you said about this battle, and
Mm-hmm.
it's maybe it's a lifelong study of what to do with it. I don't know how you would define it.
yeah, yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
battle is the extreme way of saying this thing, but it's one that if you're someone that doesn't rely on pre-composed, uh, pre-planned formulas, all those kinds of things, then you are really at the mercy of the wind. You're throwing yourself into it. I say it's like diving off the cliff into the ocean. And my
Yeah.
father used to do that every time. And it was like, he'd bring me on stage when I was a youngster, teenager, and it would just be like, follow me, here we go. So as he always would say, lions don't teach their cubs in the den, they teach
Mm.
them in the jungle.
Mhm.
So the stage is the jungle, so we are I'm following him into the thick of it, and I still do that every time that I play. I really don't have a safety net. I have things that I know I can express, um, because they're the places that my heart wants to go or my soul wants to go through my hands. And this the way that the things I can lean into, and it's my kind of safe place. Not necessarily safe sounds like it's not risky. It is risky still. It's not at all safe in that sense. It's just a
Mhm.
place that I
Yeah.
know where my heart wants to sing. That's the
Mm-hmm.
Right.
thing, where when my
Yeah.
mind wants to sing is something else. Where all the, oh, how do I create this thing to do
Mm-hmm.
all of this
Mm-hmm.
stuff? That's something else. That's not necessarily the heart. Maybe, I don't know, but these
Yeah.
are
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
just words we're using. But like for
Yeah.
me, it's like I tell my students, I tell people, like, find that thing or things, find that place in your music that let's say that again, that your heart can sing, and go to those places and do that more. The other things you're gonna be playing, and then it's like it's not only a battle with yourself, it's a battle with everybody else that you see in the world that's playing and online and thing
Mhm.
and like that. I tell people, that also study with me, that either they're older and they've lost some of their technical ability that they may have had before, or they haven't gotten it yet, or whatever it is. I say, This is your own music, and when you're playing, don't be thinking about the other person that you saw on, the internet
Mm.
or Instagram, or this person doing that or that, because that's their story. It's not your story.
Mm-hmm.
And your story is in relation to the very first note you play in alap without any drums. There's no time to any of it. It's just there's the rhythm of the ornaments and whatnot, but it's not metered. Then when you get to the point where you're playing faster lines, think about how much you've gone in
Mm-hmm.
dynamics already to that point. That's already a big journey. Now you can push it a little more, you can push a little more, get to your place. That sounds from the beginning of when you started playing to be a full realized journey. If you're thinking in your mind, I didn't play as fast as that person that did that thing on the internet or whatever, now you've taken it out of your story entirely and you're focusing on somebody else's. And that's not
Hmm.
what we should be doing here. I say, hey, you can only play up to that speed. That's okay. What can we do and what story can we tell with all of these things that you have and the place that you're at now? Practice, try to improve upon it. But if this is it, we have plenty of things to work from. This is your story. Don't worry about the other person. So that's another kind of battle that sometimes we can face as musicians and improvisers.
Definitely.
Well, yeah, that's just so fascinating and beautiful and extremely insightful because as a student myself, there's a lot of pedagogy is so much around technique, practice, and perfecting the small things. And it's so important to keep this bigger picture in mind of how do you trust and how do you surrender and how do you uh, let the music come through and use you as a vessel, and such a tricky thing to learn as well, even if whether that's tried teaching me many times as well. But it
Tried and
is as a
succeeded, I would
student,
say.
I don't know about that, but it is as a student such a difficult thing to grasp, uh,
Mm.
to trust and to surrender, because you're always comparing yourself to what you could be, what you want to be, and also, like you said, to others, that the easiest thing to ignore is that inner voice that really wants to just sing, uh, the heart that just wants to sing. And how do
Yeah.
you how do you keep that and at the center of it all and not lose sight of it?
Yeah, yeah, that is hard because we look at it's the same thing for anything in life. We're always looking at what other people are doing also, you know. And there's also
Yeah.
the business standpoint of thing, what
Mm-hmm.
sells. That's a whole
Mm-hmm.
other boring conversation about making money and being a successful musician. But if you took all those things away and it was just about the music, um, what are the things that make you happy, that give you joy and connect you? Those are the things you should go to. If it's just purely virtuosic speed and technicalities, okay. If it's something else, because everybody just there's always going to be a listener that is shares the same kind of thing, and there's listeners that also you'll change their perspective when they listen to you. So there's always someone there for whatever type of music that is, and whatever type of focus in their music there is. But I don't like putting on other people's things to make it feel like that's what I'm supposed to do with my music. And that
Mm-hmm.
is a tricky thing in this world because so much of what we do is based off of other people's achievements and thises and that's and what the public likes. And to people that can really truly stay true to their music and what moves them, and without any of that other
Mm-hmm.
noise or falling victim to the influence, um, that's something probably rare, or more rare.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was listening to some of your music before this conversation, and one issue that I had was that I wanted to kind of get um, a bird's eye view of everything, and everything that I listened to fascinated me. So I had to listen to everything and finish it. So I guess I liked it too much.
Thank you.
Um, and
It's a
one
good
thing that,
problem.
well, yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to formulate my question as we're talking about it because I'm not sure I have the words. I was listening to this album Mantram,
Yeah.
and I was
Beautiful
listening to
album.
that, and yeah, and other things as well that you created in the non-Indian classical music
Hmm.
space. And I noticed something about this music, and I'm trying to articulate it. And I think that there's something non-arbitrary in the flow of how the music moves, and I'll try to explain what I mean. When we play Indian classical music, sometimes it seems, as you described, that you start from alap, which is the first movement of the music, right? When there's no rhythm or not per se, and things evolve from one note to the next. It seems like there's a bit of a cause and effect in Indian classical music, isn't there? Where this note inevitably leads into the next note if you're listening to the music, if you're letting the music guide you. And in other genres of music, sometimes it seems like the will of the composer might be the decision making force a little bit more explicitly. And in the music that I've listened to that you create, it seemed like something else is making the decisions. If that makes sense, there is a little bit of that cause and effect within the fabric of the music itself, of how it flows from one movement to the next. As I'm asking this, I realize it's a pretty abstract question. I hope it makes maybe a little bit of sense. But what I
Ev-
wanted to ask is if this is intentional, if this is something that I'm imagining, if this is something that you are thinking about when you create, hip hop tracks or other non-Indian classical music pieces.
Yeah. Um, well, thank you for liking my music. That's
I
always
love it. No,
it always feels better than
very welcome.
people not liking it.
Yeah,
So it's like,
We're
okay,
big
there's a
fans
point.
over here.
There's a point to it. People actually want to eat it. It's music is food.
right.
But I when I make the other kinds of music, contemporary, when it's not improvisatory, um, and not when it's more song structures, I'm pretty simple. I'm pretty simplistic. I don't have any Western theory. Um, I mean, I learned some guitar, some other things like that. Um, but I never really learned the notation, the names of all the chords, besides a few harmonies. All this stuff is to me, it's like a totally abstract thing. Also, I know it's there. I know the information is there. I know I could learn it. But to me, every time I sit down at a piano or something like that, and just put random placement of fingers and things on there, I'm so excited to see what comes out because I
Mm,
don't know. I
Mhm.
just don't know. I could find out, and so I don't know sometimes I ask myself what's better. If you knew what you were doing, and then you could,
mm,
my world would be bigger in the sense of possibilities and like constructing something consciously. But that wonder of just like stumbling upon something,
mhm,
um, the issue with me, that's where I am. I just stumble upon it and go, wow. But the problem is, unless you know how to get out of that and expand upon it, you may be stuck in a smaller kind of world.
mhm, mhm.
How do I get out of this chord now? What would be a complementary harmony or chord?
Right.
Everything that I do is based off of what sounds nice to me, and
Mhm.
what it's
Mm,
simplistic in that way. And it's also all the music that has filled my life with such, wonder and love of the form of all the different forms of music. I'm guided by that. So it's like that's my teacher and that's my knowledge. Every time it's new, I don't really know what I'm doing, and I tend to sometimes rely on really simple things, whether it's a chord progression that's simply two notes or three notes,
Right.
because that's also the side of the Indian classical training that I have, which is it's modally
mhm,
based.
Right.
I'm so used to being in one kind of mode that I might just focus between the one and the four, or
Mhm.
the one and the five, sa and ma, sa and pa, or sa and komal ga, and then I throw a harmony on top of that. And to me, it seems like a little world that I've created, but it's a beautiful one and one that I feel comfortable maneuvering
mhm,
around in. When I do like a chord change that kind of feels different, sometimes I surprise myself and go, "Oh, that's lovely. How did I do that?" I don't really know because I don't know what I'm actually playing. I know what I'm playing in terms of Indian music.
mhm,
Right.
So I can't
Right.
speak to what it is in terms of Western music. I always say I'm going to learn. My son is learning piano right now, and I'm like kind of watching how he's doing it, and I'm learning a little bit.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, would this better my music or change it?
Hmm.
I do what I do based off of what I just explained, and to me, music is very emotive. And if I get to the emotion and the emotion is drawn out that I want, then that's fine with me. I don't need more. I actually feel like less is more sometimes,
Hmm.
and simple progressions are all you really need. I don't really need to key change. I don't need to transpose. I don't need to do all those things. People do it, they do it wonderfully, but it's not my natural
Right.
habitat. And it's
Hmm.
not where my heart says like I find beauty maybe in more of the simplistic things, but it's like loop-based music, minimalism, all those kinds of things I really like. And I find, the tanpura drone in Indian music, it itself is like a chord,
Hmm.
and it's
Yeah.
being played the whole time. I just see how my upbringing in Indian music, even though I was listening to all the other kinds of music and was listening to more of that before I got into Indian classical music, like rock and different things like that, I can see how, I can see how I've gotten to the place that I'm at currently. So,
I feel like as we're talking about all of these things, we're sort of drawing a line between things that are rehearsed and things that are not rehearsed. And it's easy to draw the conclusion that when you play things that are rehearsed or formulaic, as we call them before, there's a lot to learn, a lot to practice. And when you're in the realm of surprise, as what you described, of saying, oh, that's beautiful,
Hmm.
the realm of not knowing, um, is it true to say that we're not learning anything there? Or is there also a type of muscle that we're building or a type of deep knowledge that we accumulate in life, even though we are talking about something that isn't traditional knowledge? We're talking about that surprise. Are we growing,
Hmm.
or should we stay very childlike in that
mm,
sense?
yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, it's a good question. I ask myself that too sometimes. And like I was saying, I think that, if I was to learn all the fundamentals and theory and things of Western music and harmony and all that, what would I be like?
Hmm.
And would that enhance or change? And would I, with that knowledge, use it? Or would I still want to go back to what, you know, my little
Yeah,
my little house that I have of or whatever, my town
right.
that I come from musically? Um, I don't know. It's a good question. And I think it's experience. I think if you ever feel that you're stuck and that you can't make the kind of song or music that you want, that would be the time to ask yourself that question and really
Hmm.
then be like, well, maybe I need to learn something more, whether it's musical or if it's something technical, like how do I use this DAW?
Hmm.
Like how do I
Yeah.
use Pro Tools or Ableton or one of these things? Because a lot
Yeah.
of the time you're throwing paint at the wall and
Hmm.
something out of that just comes out, and then that's the thing that forms all of it, and then the music comes around that random weird idea by using an effect that just created like, whoa, what was that? And you never would. That's the thing I love about making music on a computer, which I've been doing for since 1998 or something like that, when I first got my first production gear that was all ripped programs of it was like Steinberg stuff. I had Propeller Head and Rebirth, and then Reason came after that. And my friends and I would make hip hop beats and like electronic music and stuff like that. And I made thousands of beats. And I got into
Hmm.
after that, I got into the art of sampling the turntables, the real way that people used to do it. And then chopping and cutting, editing. I did all that stuff, and it was always so fun to just throw something at the wall and see what came out. And I really admire the producers of instrumental beats and or whatever hip hop, any kind of stuff like that. That what we say, flip the sample to a point that is virtually unrecognizable. But they're
Mm.
using, they don't play the instruments themselves. They might not have access to that, but they can find whole new worlds by just tweaking the sound of the wave file and the different things that they do. That is another kind of artistry that's a very modern one. And sometimes those kinds of things even can happen around some of the music. I'm trying to think of the music that I've made on my kind of contemporary stuff. Did they ever come from a sample? I kind of stopped sampling, so there are a few things I would imagine. But the point is, even if I'm playing a little thing on the sarod or a little melody on the piano or something, and I just, by using the DAW, sometimes really wonderful stuff can just appear. And you don't actually have to necessarily know, you just need to just try and see what
Mhm. Mhm.
happens. Throw the paint at the wall, ideas will come. um I love actually making a number of the songs that I've made on those kinds of records all started out on the computer as just me and Ableton or in a different thing, doing a sample or playing a line or whatever, and then I added the Sarod to it, or vice versa. I played something on the sarod and then I brought it into that, and then I assigned other musicians to play parts. So string quartet, cello, play the line on the sarod first, and now I want a cello to do it instead. So I think it's just the act of being in the space and creating and doing. And when you see the clock spin around and you look up and you go, "Oh my God, what happened to the time?"
Mhm.
That's always a great feeling. And
Getting
you
lost
know,
in the art.
oh yeah, with children now, I don't know how much we can all do that, but
I want to dig deeper into the world of hip hop that you inhabited and still do, and making beats. And I find it so fascinating. It's such a different world from Indian classical music, and how you traverse these two worlds. And is it the same mindset of feeling, emoting, and playing through intuition that you also take into the world of making beats and hip hop? Or is it since it's so rhythmically focused, is it a different mindset that you adopt? How do you bring all of your musicality into these two worlds?
well, with hip hop music and beats and all that stuff, there was no teacher. The musicians before were the teacher. The records we
Hmm.
listened to was the teacher. So, you once you get through all of the influences that you have and the things that you like as kind of the pens and pencils and canvas that you have to create with, you're like, I know I don't like that sound, so I'm not
Mm.
going to use any of those drum sounds or these things or these things. Once you have a standard established, which is your baseline, like this is the style or combination of styles, then the for me the the theme that's continuous through all the different types of music is the emotional content.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's the emotive response that I get when making it. And I don't know what other people are feeling, but if I'm getting that, then that's the place that I'm like, oh yeah, that's me, or that's the the sound of me,
Hmm.
of all my different influences coming together. This is the sound of that. So um that's the main thing, is the
Hmm.
music doing that. And if it is, then I'm headed in the right direction, I would say. And that's I just go with that. Nowadays you'll see a lot of music is like 2 minutes long. The songs are 2 minutes long, a
Right.
minute and a half, and these are like popular songs, whether they're people on streaming platforms or even like TikTok musicians or whatever it is. It doesn't have to be 15 seconds. Maybe the clip is that, but when you go to listen to the full song,
Hmm.
generally songs they're really popular, like 2 minutes long. And I remember thinking back when I used to make a lot of beats and production, I was like, oh, 2 minutes, it's not long enough. We need to at
Mm.
least get it to 3 or 4.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, oh, all the stuff I used to make back then would be perfect for now.
You were ahead
Yeah.
of
I'm
you were
I'm
ahead
too
of
old.
times.
Yeah, but back then I used to think that it was a half-baked idea.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It wasn't fully complete. And honestly, a lot of the times I listen to these songs, they all sound like half-baked ideas. There's one verse, there's maybe not even a chorus, and the beat just plays and it ends.
Mm,
And to me, I go like, yeah, that's what we were doing when we thought we didn't finish the song.
mm,
So it's kind of funny to
Yeah.
see how, I mean, I almost feel like that's a devolving in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah. Another fun tool is loop stations, which you can also do in the DAW. But like for example, the new record album with Anoushka that we worked
mm,
on, that's nominated this year, that one, at least one of the songs I completely did on a loop station at home with
mm,
just a bunch of Sarod parts,
Hmm.
and
mm,
then, when we got together, she really liked it, and she's like, can we use this and build on this? And then the Sarod parts became also sitar parts, and then became my bass line that I detuned on my Sarod became a
Hmm.
played by a stand-up bass.
Mhm.
mm,
um a lot of times these ideas, like I was saying, they're just done on the Sarod and loops, and then I bring other instruments in. And some things, even on Mantram, there's some weird sounds that you'll hear if you listen, you're like, what is that? A lot of it is me just trying to get all the different sounds I can out of the instrument by affecting it, doing different
mm,
things, pitch shifting it, processing it slightly. I'm not very knowledgeable in the stuff I do, even though I've been doing it for so many years. I'm not the best at mixing things at all, and mastering, forget it. And like, even just, it takes me a while to get it, and I get a small set of tools, and then once I can start creating music, I just start doing it, and I never really learn the rest. I just want to make something. So, okay, we got it. It's going. It works. Let's go. And then when I connect to that feeling and I get the feeling, I said, this is good. You know,
It's
I'm more
a
simplistic in that. I'm more simplistic in that.
there's
My
a
thoughts may be big, but what I do, I don't know how it comes across to other people, but for me, it always just feels like, what's almost like second nature. I
mhm,
go to those places.
You are mentioning the collaboration with Anoushka Shankar, uh, who is obviously the daughter of Ravi Shankar, and you being the son of Ali Akbar Khan. It's and there's an obvious echo there of you playing together, echoing both of your fathers playing together and presenting in many ways the first notes of Indian classical music to the rest of the world. Um, it's interesting to think about those two moments in time. Maybe this is a very obvious thing that you already asked yourself many times, but uh, Ali Akbar Khan and Ravi Shankar, in a way, lived in a very different world musically than you and Anushka. They both come from this tradition, and they are the stalwarts of the tradition. They represent the tradition, and they didn't make beats and use loop tools and so on. And both you and Anushka seem to be very well immersed in non-Indian classical music genres. And so when you come together, what is that like? Do you speak the same language and also the same many more languages? Or does it seem like you have something in common that is focused on Indian classical music after all, more than anything else?
Well, the thing we can't get away from, whether it's Indian classical or not, is that the fact that I'm playing sarod and she's playing sitar. So right off the bat,
Yeah.
it's going to have the sound, and it's going to be Indian classical. I would say even more than esque. It's Indian classical
Right.
music. Now the ideas we do is the other thing, and I know for Anushka, she really didn't want to go into the classical sphere of things, and I was okay with that, because I also was like, yeah, I mean, the obvious thing is to compare us to our fathers and their
mm,
duets, and the no one can really touch that. And it doesn't need to be.
Right.
yeah.
I would like to, you know I would like to do that at some point, because it feels good, and it makes me, because
Mm.
music
Mm,
for me, a lot of the time when I play my sorod and play classical, it's me continuing the conversation of music that I had with my father. So every time I play that
Mm.
instrument, I see
Beautiful.
him in front of me. I hear his voice. I see his hands moving. I hear his sarod. That conversation that we had started when I was a teenager. It's like every time I play, it's just me there now, and I'm playing it out into the cosmos, into the whatever, and he's there with me, and I'm having that conversation,
Mm.
and people are getting to listen in on that because all the decisions that I'm making, all the lines I'm playing, I can see him there. I can see the movement that I'm doing. It's when he taught me this
Mm.
line. It's that conversation. And to me, that is the most special part about playing Indian classical, about playing Sarod for me, is I get to speak with my father.
Mm. It's beautiful.
And that, you know, so for something like with me and Anushka kind of mirroring or trying to do what our fathers did, to me that would be fine because it
Mhm.
feels like continuing the conversation and it
Yeah.
feels good in my heart. But
Mm.
stylistically, what the artist wants, those kinds of things, I can see how she and I also both want to get out of that. But I would be fine with doing classical as well. But for this record, we decided to just totally do it in our own way. And yeah, there's similarities to like instrumentation choices and kind of ideas for songs and stuff like that. Like I said, I'm very minimalist, kind of loop based kind of way of playing and things like that, and you can hear some of that on the album. And then you can see Anushka, she what I really appreciate is seeing how she ties all the things together, the types of musicians she brings in to collaborate on the music, the way she designs her stage, her lighting, all of the things together, the
Mhm.
experience of it. She really ties that in nicely, in a nice way. And, you know, musical ideas uh, came pretty easily. I had ideas for some songs, like I said, and the ones that we made in the moment when I was in London for that week. Just started playing and it just kind of happened. We wrote all of that stuff within like a week or a couple of days or something like that. And
Mhm.
so in that sense, we could easily maneuver with each other. And, she has said a number of times that when she would play something, she would look up and she would just see me respond in a way that just felt like completely, and it's like, well, it's in our blood and it's in our father's blood and they passed it on to us. So we're continuing that story. So I don't know. I'd like to see what happens in the future if we make more music together. On the album, we did one piece, which was the last piece, which was based in Rag Manj Kamaj, which is kind of, one of the ragas that my father and Rabiji really popularized in Indian music. And when we were playing that in the studio, I remember really just feeling very emotional because it's very simplistic what we're doing. It wasn't any heavy duty classical stuff, but just simple lines showing the beauty of the melody itself. And but I, what I felt was this kind of emotional connection to it, and that felt really good. So
Mm.
do we need to do more? There's always going to be the people that want to hear all the classical and they want us to do that, and then there's the people that don't get it at all and they like less. This record is what it is. It's
Mm.
just a first venture into those kinds of things, and so yeah.
I love this record, and I love and admire what you're saying about having a conversation with your father. It sounds like
Mm,
such a beautiful definition of music. It makes me wonder if when we play music, are we having conversations with people and things that aren't physically there every
Mm.
time we play? Um,
mm,
I don't know
yeah.
exactly what to ask about it, but I just love what you said about that.
Yeah, I also wonder, when I'm playing, what, because the thing is, when well, he would have me improvise when he was teaching me, but he would be there to ultimately say whether he liked it or not, or if it was wrong or not, or whatever. But for me, there's no response back. The response is the accumulation of his words, his teachings, his energy, that are living within me and manifesting. When I do something, what's the voice? Is it the voice in my head, or is that voice in my head manifesting also the words and things that I think that he would say about it?
Mm-hmm.
Because is it coming from externally also is the question, or is it coming internally? And maybe it's both, because
Mm-hmm.
he's inside me, he's also outside me in the cosmos.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like it is a conversation, and I asked him, what do I do after you pass away? Like, how am I going to learn? Like, because there's no other teacher for me after him. He's my guru. I learned a very little bit, but some from my aunt, my Pishima, Annapurna Devi, Srimati Annapurna Devi. But mainly my father was my teacher. My oldest brother, Ustad Ashish Khan, who's now passed this last year, he sometimes we would sit and go over family guts, compositions, and things like that. But really, my teacher was my father, and he used to say to me that, I've taught you all the things. On Sarod. Like, as far as Sarod is concerned, all the techniques, all the things to play, all of that, it's all there. Just keep listening to your lessons, listen to the recordings, listen to the concerts. I'll be teaching you, in that way. And
Mm-hmm.
and now his voice and his teachings, they live inside me, and they um let's call it, instead of AI, let's call it internal information, or what, internal intelligence.
Intelligent.
Intelligence.
Right, it's
Well,
just, it's coming up with the answers and
so,
telling me
yeah.
that it's guiding me, it's acting as my father.
Mhm.
And it's a beautiful thing. That to me is the most important part. I
Mm-hmm.
get to honor him, honor my grandfather, and be in conversation with them. And that is and that's what I say to my, I don't know if I've said that to my son, but that's what I hope for my son too. Like, I don't necessarily need him to be a professional musician. Being an artist, being a musician is a hard life, and we know it's getting even more complex in today's modern age. I want him to be happy. Same thing my father said to me: if you don't want to play the road, okay, just enjoy your life. Well, for better or worse, I chose to play the road. And some days are good, some days are not. But I would want my son to be able to benefit from and have his life enriched by all the beauty and power that is in the music, and to be able to
Mm-hmm.
recognize that and have that be a constant companion, and to have a practice, whether it's music or something else, but some of it should be in the music, so he can, because if he didn't, it's a tremendous it's a missed opportunity, I guess I would say, because music is such a powerful thing. And yeah, so for me, it goes back to the medicinal thing we said in the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
that music, what is the role that it plays in my life? Well, it's communion with my father, with the divine, with the cosmos, the energy, nature, whatever you want to call it, that thing that links us all and is beyond all of us, that wonder,
Mm-hmm.
that power, and using it as a tool for bettering one's life. And that changes at different stages, as we said, from when I was a kid, what I was looking for in music, to
Mm-hmm.
what I'm feeling now. And maybe that's also why music sometimes, for me, when I'm listening, I said it's fewer and further between when I have those moments, is because I'm not looking for the same thing anymore, which I was easily entertained by when I was young, or like, wow, now it's a little harder to get to, but when it gets there, it's much more potent and felt, because it's different. So
I think this conversation has been medicinal for us listening to it, and such a beautiful reminder of everything that is truly important about music. So, thank you so much for sharing all of these things. Um,
my pleasure. Thanks for having me. And I hope we can make music sometime. I think we
for
talked about
sure.
it a while
Hmm.
ago or something, but
That's true. Yeah.
I that last record you made, what was the one, the white with the white cover? Was that
Yeah,
something?
that's my prophet. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some beautiful stuff on there, and
Thank you.
I really liked it. And it's been a minute since I played with any wind instruments. So
Good for you. I
we
mean,
we'll be. I'm getting sick of plucking. We all want what we can't have.
Yeah,
We
yeah,
want
yeah.
we want to have sustained notes while the other one
Uh-huh.
wants percussive plucks,
Right. Yeah.
whatever it is. We
Where's the
can't have it
texture?
all.
I don't have any, Yeah.
Well, that's how new techniques and new styles are created by
Yeah.
someone wanting
Right.
to surpass their instrument's
Mm.
limitations. Then they create
Yeah.
a whole new thing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talk about, oh, that's life. That's
So, Alam, once again, thank you so much for joining us. I think that we talked about fascinating things, and I can't wait to share this conversation with the rest of our listeners on the podcast. Avansh, do you want to add anything before we conclude?
no other than a very, very deeply felt thank you, gratitude. This was really a very deeply touching conversation. I think we all needed to hear it, and things that you brought up, really beautiful, really profound. And thank you for taking the time, Alam. Thank you
Yeah,
so
my
much.
pleasure. I hope it inspires some people that are
Mm.
listening, and um, or shows them what not to do. Learn from my mistakes. No, I'm just joking.
I didn't see
Um,
any.
Yeah,
yeah. Well, thank you guys for having me. I
Thank
appreciate.
you.
Really nice to see you both. It's been a long time, so hopefully sooner than later.
Yeah, hope to see
absolutely.
you soon in person. All right,
Okay.
Alam. Thank you so
Thank you
much.
so
Have a good
much.
day.
Take
Bye.
care.